We're closing the border, and we're drilling.
And you keep us moving towards energy independence.
Have you ever been at a gas station just watching the numbers on the pump spin faster and faster and thought to yourself, wait a minute, doesn't America produce more oil than any other country? You're not wrong, it does. So why are we still getting jerked around by volatile global prices? And why do we still import millions of barrels of oil every single day? It feels like a paradox, a contradiction that just doesn't add up. Well, the answer isn't what you might think. It's not about a shortage, and it's definitely not as simple as a political talking point. The real reason is a hidden economic system, a complex web of infrastructure, chemistry, and cold, hard cash that makes it more profitable for US companies to sell their own oil to other countries than to use it all here. The story of American oil isn't about scarcity. It's about a global market that plays by a set of rules that have very little to do with national borders. Let's peel back the layers on why America doesn't actually run on its own oil.
Be sure that there is enough oil to go around for the entire winter all over the country. It will be essential for all of us.
Section 1. The common misconception. It's not a shortage. First, let's get the big numbers out of the way. Yes, the United States is the world's top crude oil producer. Now, in 2024, US total petroleum consumption was around 20 million barrels per day. And while our production numbers move around, the US has actually been a net exporter of total petroleum products for several years. That means when you count everything from crude oil to refined gasoline and diesel, we ship out more than we bring in. So if we're a net exporter, the problem clearly isn't that we don't have enough. This isn't a story about empty wells. This brings us to a much more fundamental question. Is all oil the same? The short answer is no. And that one simple fact is the first clue to solving this whole puzzle. Section 2, the first layer, the two types of oil. Imagine you're a chef who specializes in making world-class pastries. Your entire kitchen is set up with delicate mixers and ovens to make light, airy croissants. Then someone shows up with a truck full of potatoes and says, "Here, make fries." You can't. Your expensive, specialized equipment isn't built for it. That, in a nutshell, is the first major piece of the American oil puzzle. Crude oil isn't just one thing. It comes in hundreds of varieties, but they're mostly graded on two scales: density and sulfur content. Oil with low density is called light, and high-density oil is heavy. Oil with low sulfur is sweet, and high sulfur is sour. Thanks to the shale boom, the vast majority of oil gushing out of Texas and North Dakota is light, sweet crude. It's high-quality stuff that's relatively easy to refine into gasoline. But here's the twist. For decades, long before the shale boom, America built its refining empire around the exact opposite kind of oil. Section 3. The second layer, the refinery mismatch. Most of America's huge, complex oil refineries, especially the giants along the Gulf Coast, were built to process heavy, sour crude oil. Why? Because for a long time, that was the cheap and plentiful stuff on the global market, coming from places like Canada, Mexico, and Venezuela. US refineries invested billions in sophisticated gear designed specifically to break down this tough, sludgy, high-sulfur oil into valuable products like gasoline. As of early 2025, US refining capacity is about 18.4 million barrels per day, but a huge portion of that capacity is highly specialized for heavier crude. So what happens when you feed these refineries the light, sweet crude that America is now producing in droves? It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. They can do it, but it's inefficient. The machinery designed for heavy oil gets underutilized, which means they produce less fuel and their costs go up. It creates this massive mismatch. We're producing a type of oil that our own industrial base isn't fully set up to handle. So why not build new refineries? Because building a new one is a mind-boggling financial risk. It can cost billions of dollars and take a decade, all while facing intense regulations and an uncertain future for fossil fuels. It's been decades since a large, complex refinery was built from the ground up in the US. Section 4. The third layer, the economic incentive. This is where the cold, hard logic of the global market takes over. Remember, oil companies are private businesses, not government agencies. Their main goal is profit. And with that refinery mismatch in mind, a very clear economic picture starts to form. It makes total business sense for an American oil producer to sell their high-quality, light-sweet crude on the global market, where refineries in Europe and Asia are hungry for it and willing to pay a premium. While the U.S. exports a significant amount of its crude oil, it's also a top exporter of refined products, sending them to nearly 150 countries. At the exact same time, it makes perfect sense for a complex U.S. refinery to import cheaper, heavy, sour crude from a country like Canada, which is our biggest supplier by far. They buy this crude at a discount, run it through their specialized equipment, and maximize their profit margins. It's a form of global arbitrage. American companies are essentially selling the premium light oil that everyone wants and buying the cheaper heavy oil that their kitchens are set up to handle. It's not about patriotism, it's about profits. This intricate global dance of oil is what keeps the market moving, but it can feel totally disconnected from the price we see at the pump. If this explanation is helping you make sense of the madness, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. We release videos every week that explore the complex systems that secretly run our world. Section 5. The fourth layer, the political and logistical hurdles. On top of the economics, you have geography and politics making this whole import-export dance almost inevitable. The US is a massive country. For a refinery on the East Coast, say in Philadelphia, it can literally be cheaper and faster to ship in a tanker of oil from across the Atlantic than to get it from Texas. This problem is made way worse by a little-known 100-year-old law called the Jones Act. Passed in 1920, the act requires that any ship moving goods between two U.S. ports must be American-built, American-owned, and American crude. The intention was to support U.S. shipbuilding, but it has made domestic shipping absurdly expensive. Building a tanker in the U.S. can cost 4 times as much as building one in South Korea. Because of this, there are very few of these ships, and hiring one is incredibly pricey. In 2025, the daily rate for a Jones Act tanker was around $90,000, wildly more expensive than an internationally flagged ship. The result is bizarre situations where it's cheaper for a Texas oil producer to put their crude on a foreign ship and send it all the way to a refinery in Europe than to put it on an American ship and send it to a refinery in Philadelphia. A 2025 MIT study found this single law significantly inflates prices for consumers on both the East and West Coast. Section 6, the so what? The impact on gas prices. So how does all of this, the oil types, the refinery mismatch, the economics, and the Jones Act, circle back to the price you pay for gas? It means that the price of gasoline in America is not set by how much oil we produce, but by the global price of oil. Because U.S. producers and refiners are playing on the global field to maximize profit, they're exposed to global events. When a conflict flares up in the Middle East or OPEC cuts production, the worldwide price of crude spikes. Since our refineries are buying and selling on that same market, their costs go up, and that cost gets passed right on to you. Even though a well in Texas is pumping away, the price for that barrel is being set in London or Dubai, and the Jones Act directly adds to that cost. The MIT study calculated that if the act were just eliminated for oil transport, gasoline prices on the East Coast could fall by an average of 63 cents per barrel. That's a century-old law taking money out of your wallet today. Conclusion: the bigger picture. So what's really stopping America from using its own oil? It's not a conspiracy. It's a reality born from a hidden web of factors. It starts with chemistry. We produce light oil, but our refineries were built for heavy oil. It's driven by economics. It's more profitable to sell our premium crude abroad and import crude that better fits our system. And it's locked in place by logistics and law. The sheer size of our country and policies like the Jones Act make it cheaper to trade with the world than with ourselves. This all points to a final, crucial distinction: energy independence versus energy security. The idea of energy independence, a fortress America that only uses its own resources, is basically a myth. It's economically and logistically unworkable. What the US has instead is energy security. By being a top producer, a top refiner, and a top trader, the US sits at the heart of the global energy system. This provides stability and a diverse supply, but it doesn't and can't insulate the American consumer from the tides of the global market. The price you pay at the pump is a constant reminder that in the world of oil, no country is an island.